Hello, student. This is Manish Yadav, your English teacher, and today we shall know the summary in this video session. This video is very helpful for the students of class 9th. In this video, we shall discuss about the summary for the first chapter, that is the fun they had. After a huge demand of my students, I am making and uploading this video for them so that they would know the summary as well as exact ideas for creating answers. So let's start. Margie writes in her diary. Margie even wrote about the book in her diary. On the page headed 17th of May 2157, she wrote, "Today, Tommy found a real book." The real book. The summary revolves with two children, Margie and Tommy. Both are brother and sister. Margie is 11 years old and Tommy was 13. Once Margie was writing and maintaining a diary. As we know that we write and mention diary related to incidents and facts which happens in our life. So she was writing a diary, and Margie wrote in her diary, heading the page 17th of May 2157. Means this is a science fiction, and in this story we would know about 150 years later what would be the system of education after 150 years later, and the pattern as well as mediums of education will be different rather than nowadays. So she wrote in her diary that Tommy found a real book today. She quoted this line, within quotation tag. She wrote, "Today, Tommy found a real book." What happens next? It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him about a time when all stories were printed on paper. It was a very old book which was found by Tommy, and once Margie's grandfather told her when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him about a time when all the stories were printed on paper and they turned the pages. These were wrinkled and yellow, and they used to turn the pages so that they would turn over the pages to see the matter further. These were wrinkled and yellow pages. Those pages were worn out and wrinkled as well as yellow in the color. The words stood still. They did not move on the screen as they do now. Those words stood still. Those words did not move. They did not move on the screen as they do now. He is talking about his own time. Who is talking? Margie's grandfather. He was talking about his own time as well as his grandfather's time. But nowadays, when Margie was writing or would be writing the diary, it would be 2157. And at that moment, at that time, virtual classes would be providing to the students. They would be attending and taking their online classes, staying at home, and they would not go to school anymore at that time. So as the screen was, moving, as well as all the fonts and characters were moving, so it was different rather than Margie's time and her grandfather's, grandfather of grandfather's time. What happens next? Telebooks, Tommy called it a waste. When they read the book, they threw it away. Their television screen must have been very big to have many books. It was still good for many more books. It was same for Margie, though she had not seen many telebooks. Telebooks. First of all, we should know what is telebooks. Telebooks, it is a system, computer screen in which a PDF or Wikipedia is uploaded, and it is uploaded in the size of KB and MB, and we can store so many things as record of books in the computer screen. So this is a telebook, and when they read the book, they threw it away. They were making comparison between books and telebooks. So according to them, they would be throwing the books away in those time. Their television screen must have big, to have many books, and obviously a computer system can store more and more data rather than books. So it was better for them. It was still good for many more books. It was same for Margie, though she had not seen many telebooks. It was better for Margie as well, because she did not go to school and she did not have many telebooks. Margie's hatred for school. She doesn't like going to school. Margie was 11 and Tommy was 13. As I told you at the beginning when I started this summary, Margie was 11 years old and Tommy was 13. She asked him where he found that book. She wants to know where Tommy found the book. Tommy replied that he found that in his house. She asked what it was all about. She wants to know about the book. Tommy replied that it was about school. Margie exclaimed, "School? What is school?" Because she was unknown and she was strange for this word, school. She never went to school ever, and she was unknown and strange. She was shocked listening this word school. What is this school? She wants to know about that platform. What was there to write about school, as she hated that? She doesn't adore going to school, so she was shocked. And what is there to write about school if she hated? Why Margie hates school? This is a question. Why does she hate schools? She always hated schools, but now she hated it more. And it was because her mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography. This is the reason, because of she hates school. Her mechanical teacher, he had been giving so many tests, test after test in the subject of geography. So she does not adore school. She had been doing worse and worse, and she was not performing well in that subject, geography. That is why she does not like school. And at last what happens? Her mother sent for the county inspector. And finally she was sent to county inspector to be investigated and checked. Now television teacher sat right. The inspector was a round little man, and he had a red face and a box of tools, dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple. He took the television teacher away. Margie hoped he would not know how to set it right, but after 1 hour it was brought again before her with its big screen. Lessons were shown and questions asked on it. What happens in this paragraph of the summary? Margie hoped he would not know how to set it right. When she was sent to county inspector, he gave, an apple to her, and there was a face. It was red, and a box of tools, dials, and wires. County inspector smiled at Margie once and gave her an apple. He took the television teacher away. Margie hoped he would not know how to set it right. But after 1 hour, it was brought again before her with a big screen. Okay, when Margie went to county inspector, her county inspector, took the teacher away for some time. But after some time, it was, carried in front of her again with a big screen. And she was again shocked seeing the big screen in front of her. Lessons were shown and questions asked on it. And she was asked questions as well as lessons. She was being taught with the help of that big screen. Margie's learning, she hated its slot in which she had to put her homework, and she had to write them in a pouch code. She had been learning since she was 6 years old, and she had been learning with the help of that big screen when she was 6 years old, and everything she had to write in a pouch code, and she hated its slot a lot, as well as she had to put her homework with the help of typing system. What happens next? Geography sector set right. The inspector smiled at patted Margie's head. He told Margie's mother that it was not Margie's fault. The geography sector was geared a little too quick, so he had slowed that to an average 10-year level. Margie's progress had been quite satisfactory. Then he went away. Geography sector set right. The inspector smiled and patted Margie's head. He told Margie's mother that it was not Margie's fault. The county inspector stated the problem to Margie's mother that it is not her fault. The geography sector was geared a little too quick. The system, it was working so fast, and because of speeding and gearing it, Margie was not getting everything properly. So he set and geared down the system again so that she would be able to understand everything gradually and slowly. He had slowed that to average 10-year level. Margie's progress had been quite satisfactory. And when the system was geared down and it was set according to the average of 10 years level, Margie's began to progress well, and her performance and progress was quite satisfactory. Then he went away. County inspector went away from there. Margie's wish about her television teacher. Margie's hope that they would take her mechanical teacher away, but they had done so Tommy's for nearly a month. They had taken away the mechanical teacher for Tommy nearly a month ago. The history sector was Tommy had blanked out. Margie said to Tommy why anyone would write about a school, and finally she does not like schools and to write about schools. Tommy tells her about our schools. Tommy told her that it was not their kind of school. There was a kind of school, old schools, which they had there hundreds and hundreds of years ago. As I told you, this chapter relates to science fiction. So in this chapter, the story has been described about 150 years later. What would be going on after 150 years. And this is a science fiction. Again, I'd like to tell you about science fiction. This story is based on the imagination and hypothesis. What happens next? Margie's knowledge about old school. Margie was hurt and she told that she did not know about these schools. As she does not like schools and she doesn't know about schools, she read the book over Tommy's shoulder, and she then said that they had a teacher anyway. Tommy replied that it was not a regular teacher, it was a man. She tries to understand, she tries to get about those teachers, and she creates some ideas about those teachers. Ancient time, she is thinking about the ancient time, other 150 years ago. So she would be getting imagination and ideas about those teachers, how would be. And Tommy clears her doubt that they were regular teacher, they were men. Okay, it was not a computer system and it was not robotic teacher. Finally, what happens? Students in those schools, the teacher told the boys and girls things and gave homework, and he also asked them questions. Margie told Tommy that man could not be smart enough, but Tommy said he was. So according to Margie, when Tommy expressed and described the system about ancient time, that they were men, and they taught girls and boys, they gave them homework, and they also asked them questions. So Margie told Tommy that man could not be smart enough, but Tommy said he was so. According to Margie, her computer system and robotic teacher, he was smarter than those previous teachers, but Tommy said that they were smart also. Old schools explained. Margie was not prepared to dispute that. She said that she would not want a strange man to live in her house and teach her. According to Margie, it was not better for Margie and the students to be taught by a strange person. Suppose that he would be a man, he is strange for the student. So it is not better for the children as well as familiar to call a strange teacher at their home to teach their children. Tommy told Margie that the teachers did not live in the house as the mechanical teachers lived. Tommy also described her that those teachers would not be staying at our home. They would come for the period, for a limited and defined period, and they would teach us. Thereafter they would leave from there, and they learned the same thing also. They were the same age groups, and most of the students they were in a group, in a class, and they would be classmates and batchmates of each other, and they would be at the same age as well. Adjustment of television teacher, but Margie said that as for her mother, a teacher had to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it taught. So each kid had to be taught differently. According to Margie's mother, every student have different skills and different potential, and they catch things differently. So just they must be taught and must be given different ideas differently. So Margie's school time, Margie's mother Mrs. John called that it was time for her school. Margie asked Tommy if she could read the book some more with him after school, and Tommy walked away from there, and he had put the dusty old book under his arm. Finally, what happens? Thinking continues. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen the fractions of question, and Margie was thinking about how two kids must have loved the school in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. And after the great explanation and brief of old schools, Margie was thinking about those kids who must have loved the school as well as they got fun in their old days. Just she was thinking better about those children who went to school for their education. They did not get education staying at their home, with the help of computer system. So Margie was thinking about that. Okay, she was thinking about 150 years earlier. That's it for the summary of this chapter. Keep learning.